I've always loved living alone in my small one-bedroom house. It's quiet, it's simple, and most importantly, it's private. It's the perfect space for me, especially with my unusual schedule. I'm a night owl, so I'm usually up until 3 or 4 in the morning, glued to my computer, working away. It's my routine, my normal. That night was supposed to be just like any other. The entire house was silent, the only sound being the steady click-clack of my keyboard as I typed. It was peaceful. Until it wasn't. Suddenly, I heard it. Footsteps. And not just any footsteps, these were heavy, frantic. Someone was running, and they were running down my hallway, straight toward my room. My fingers froze over the keys. Before I could even process what was happening, something slammed against my bedroom door. 3, maybe 4 thunderous bangs that seemed to shake the entire frame. I leaped out of my chair so fast that it clattered to the floor behind me. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the sudden, terrifying silence. I just stood there, paralyzed, my eyes locked on the doorknob, expecting it to turn at any second. I held my breath, waiting for the door to burst open, for someone to come crashing in, but nothing happened. The banging stopped as abruptly as it had started. The silence that followed was even more unnerving. No footsteps, no shuffling, no sound of breathing. Just nothing. It was like the world had gone completely still. Then, just as I was starting to question if I'd imagined it all, I heard them again. Footsteps. But this time, they were moving away. Fading down the hallway, back the way they came, until they disappeared completely. That's when my survival instinct finally kicked in. I frantically looked around for a weapon, anything, and my hand closed around an empty glass bottle on my desk. Clutching it tightly, I ripped the door open and charged out. Adrenaline surged through me as I stormed through the house, checking every single room. The living room, the kitchen, the bathroom. Nothing. No one was there. I checked all the doors and all the windows. They were all locked, bolted from the inside. I checked them again, just to be sure. I couldn't understand it. There was no way in and no way out. I called the police, my voice trembling as I explained what happened. They arrived and did a thorough search of the entire property from top to bottom. They looked in closets, under the bed, even in the tiny attic space. Their conclusion? Nothing. They suggested that whoever it was must have found a way to escape before they arrived. But I knew that was impossible. Every entry point was secure. For the next week, I barely slept. I was a wreck. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside my window sent a jolt of pure panic through me. I tried to rationalize it. I told myself that maybe, just maybe, I'd been careless and left a door unlocked. Maybe the stress had gotten to me and it was all in my head, a vivid nightmare that felt real. But deep down, in the part of me that was still frozen in terror from that night, I know that's not the truth. Because whoever or whatever was in my house that night, they didn't need a key. They didn't need an open window. They were already inside. My parents were out of town for the week, so I invited my girlfriend Emily to stay over. The day was perfect. We watched movies, swam, and just relaxed. But after midnight, I heard it. A weird scraping sound like something heavy being dragged across the driveway. I told Emily to be quiet and crept to the garage to investigate. One of the trash cans was tipped over. I figured it was just an animal, so I cleaned it up, locked the garage, and went back to bed. Just as I was drifting off, I heard it again. A soft, steady tapping on the window. Tap, tap, tap. My heart started pounding. I slowly peeled back the curtain and saw a figure standing at my front door, just tapping on the glass. Then, they started to turn. I ducked down, my breath caught in my throat. When I finally peeked again, he was right there, outside my window, staring directly at me. His face, it just wasn't right. I've never been so scared. The police found nothing, but the noises have started again. I haven't had a good night's sleep since. I've always had terrible teeth. It feels like they've been plotting against me my whole life. Take my wisdom teeth, for example. Most people get those out in high school, right? Not me. I procrastinated, pushed it off, and didn't get them removed until after college. Big mistake. Let me tell you, the recovery was brutal. For the first week, sleeping through the night was a fantasy. My jaw throbbed with a constant, dull ache, so I had to set alarms every few hours to take my pain medicine. It was this miserable cycle of dozing off, being jolted awake by the alarm, and then trying to fall back asleep. After about a week of this, my body completely forgot what a full night's rest even felt like. I was exhausted, irritable, and just felt completely out of it. Then came the night that's burned into my memory forever. It was around 4 a.m., and I woke up drenched in sweat. My room felt like a furnace. Of course, the air conditioner had decided to die in the middle of a hot summer night. Desperate for some relief, I stumbled over to the window and pushed it open, hoping for a breeze. That's when I heard it. A soft scratching sound. It was slow, steady, and it was coming from right above my head, moving across the roof. At first, I tried to rationalize it. It's just a raccoon, I told myself, or maybe a squirrel. But the longer I listened, the more I knew something was off. The sound was too deliberate, too rhythmic for an animal. A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the night air. My heart started pounding. I knew I couldn't just lie there. I had to see what it was. I grabbed the heavy-duty flashlight we keep by the door and quietly slipped outside. The front yard was dead silent, bathed in the eerie glow of the streetlights. My hand was shaking as I pointed the beam of the flashlight up at the roof. Nothing, just shingles and shadows. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Maybe I was just imagining things, my sleep-deprived brain playing tricks on me. But just as I started to lower the light, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I snapped the beam back up, and my blood ran cold. Someone was standing on my roof, perfectly still, just standing there, silhouetted against the dark sky, watching me. Every muscle in my body froze. We were locked in this terrifying standoff for what felt like an eternity. Then, the figure turned its head, and in a flash, it scrambled across the roof, moving with an unnatural speed towards the back of the house. The shock wore off, and pure adrenaline kicked in. "Dad!" I screamed at the top of my lungs, and without thinking, I sprinted around the side of the house, chasing after it. By the time I rounded the corner into the backyard, they were gone, vanished. The only thing there was the dark, silent tree line that bordered our property. My dad came running out, and we called the police. They did a full search of the area, dogs and everything, but found absolutely nothing. It was like the person had just disappeared into thin air. It wasn't until the next morning, in the daylight, that my dad noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were fresh pry marks on the frame of our attic window. Someone had been trying to get in. I never found out who was on my roof that night or what they wanted, but the experience left a permanent mark on me. To this day, sometimes when the house gets too quiet and the world outside is asleep, I'll hear it. That faint, familiar scratching sound, something moving just above my head. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have any creepy true stories of your own, I'd love to read them in the comments below.